Welcome to Clone Questions Live with me, Paul, your clone coach. This is episode 2 of Clone Questions Live, where we answer all of your clone questions. Let's get the crowd going here. Evening to everybody. Welcome, welcome. Let's see here. Discount code. How's everybody doing? Where's everybody joining in from? Let's see, put a little code here for you guys. Use code 15. Welcome to everybody. Where's everybody coming in from, joining from? We got Thailand, we got the UK, we got Michigan. Just setting this up here. Welcome to episode 2 of Clone Questions. I'm gonna try to keep up with these comments here. Welcome everybody. We got Colorado, we got Michigan, UK, Thailand, Oregon, New York, New Mexico, Michigan, Oklahoma, Southwest Michigan, Escondido. We got our first question there. We got Washington, Missouri, Bay Area, St. Pete, Florida, Bay Area, Hawaii. Where's everybody joining in from? St. Kitts in the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago, Medellin. Man, we look at this, man. The whole Clone Coach community is all over the place, man. That's what we're building up here, guys. The community. But I was just getting started on my clone question joint here, so that's the beginning of this show. If you guys have something to roll up, smoke up, and talk clones with, that's now's the time to light it up. I'm also live on Riverside FM. If you want to join the audience there and try to call in, actually call in with your question, go to the link in my bio on my Instagram page. There should be the second tab there. It says join the audience. We had some difficulties last time with people trying to call in, so we'll try to work out the kinks here. But it's a cool little feature. Try to get more people involved that way. Let's see here. For everybody else just joining, man, when you join, just let us know where you're joining in from. If you have something to get started with and start burning, now's the time to light it up. And we could get into this second episode of Clone Questions Live with me, Paul, your clone coach. All right. So I don't get too behind on the questions and the comments here. I'm scrolling up to find that first question that came through. Let's see here. Best lighting cycle for freshly cut clones. The best lighting cycle for me is a 24-hour lighting cycle. That allows the domes, that little microclimate, to stay nice and consistent during that rooting process. It eliminates that small dip and that extra spike in humidity when lights go off and stuff, and that little bit of extra light and warmth really helps in the whole rooting process. So for me, best lighting cycle, 24 hours. Let's see, let me scroll through here. If you guys got questions, let's throw them into the comments, throw them into the chat, and let's talk clones. This episode of Clone Questions Live, episode 2. And if you're just joining, let us know where you're joining in from. We got people from all over the world right now joining us. So we got another question. I got a question. I just transplanted some clones into a little square pot under Lux LEDs, and my parameters are on point, but my clone stems are still red. They're probably going to take a little while to bounce out of something. Depends how bad the nutrient deficiency got. So make sure there's plenty of light. Make sure you have plenty of CalMag at your base, plenty of your NPK ratios, and ensure you got those root inoculants as well that aid in the nutrient uptake. So all the stuff they're actually feeding, all that high EC stuff that you're actually feeding, is actually being able to get taken up into the plant. We want to ensure that those amino acids and active microbes are helping break down and helping the nutrient uptake into your plant to get rid of those red stems. Well, welcome everybody. This episode of Clone Questions Live. Let's see what we got here. Another question here. What can I do to help with red stems? I bet you if you got red stems, you're probably running LEDs. You're probably in cocoa, and you probably have RO water. And I just made a video on this. Those three things are individually will always call for more calcium magnesium uptake or just create a bigger draw on your plant. And if you combine all three of these things, even more so. So, you're going to need some more cal mag as a base. Make sure your nutrients are there, and try to get this plant to bounce back out of it. To a certain degree, if you're running high intensity LEDs, you're going to experience that. 9 times out of 10 if you're running high intensity. So try to run lower intensity light with your LEDs, dim them down. Less PPFD is better. Too much, you're going to be asking a lot of that plant. So it's going to be really hard to eliminate that red or purple stem. Let's see. How early do you introduce roots? If you guys are part of the Clone Coach team, you'll know that we have nutrients, in our clone media before we even get roots to strike, and especially right when the roots begin to strike. So the nutrients are there at all times. See, we got Central California here. We got Los Angeles. We got question here. What does the term hardening off mean? It basically means adjusting down to a drier, warmer climate, more environment. So your plants are more accustomed to that quote-unquote stressor of a lower environment, a lower humidity environment. That allows your plant to be quote-unquote hardened off and kind of more sturdy and more rigid and more prepared to experience any kind of fluctuation in your environment or in another environment that the plant is going to, especially during like transportation and stuff too. So that's what it really means to harden off your plants. Cheers to you, my friend. Let's see, what flavor? I got a little mixed joint here of some Motorhead, some Yahimi, and what else we got? Some Julius Caesar. That's what we're puffing on. So we got another question here. Let's see. Could starting clones, the initial soak, higher EC than the moms are getting, make the clones take longer to root because they have more than enough nutrients that they aren't going to focus on rooting? No, because I think you're kind of mixing two different things here. Roots and that nutrient uptake that you're touching on are two different things that the plant's going to do, because it'll still strike roots with the right environment, the right parameters, the right hormones in place, even if it doesn't have all the nutrients there. And that's why you'll have people that could make clones and get roots in a decent time frame, but when you look at the actual clone, it's deficient and stunted. It's the newest growth at the top is all purple, working its way down, purple down into the green. We're getting that yellowing, we're getting stunted development of the new foliage, but the roots are there. So it doesn't matter if you have high EC in your cubes. That's not going to hinder your rooting process. If your roots aren't being developed, then you got to focus on temperature and other factors to encourage the striking and searching of your root zone. Let's see, I think that's a Puerto Rican flag. We got Puerto Rico here. LED or T5? I'll say LED. That's an easy one. But if you're just joining us, let us know where you're joining in from. If you have a question, please throw it into the chat. And we'll get to all of them. See, how far into flower can you get clones to root? I've seen people root clones from a week 8 flower plant, right? Fully budded out plant. People will root clones, mostly like breeders and stuff when they're trying to find their winner. There's been people that are really good at that because they do it on a normal, consistent basis. So you could really go into late flower and take a clone. If it was trickier, I wouldn't recommend it. For normal, without having to change too much of your procedure, I would say week 2. maybe week 3 of flower is as far as you want to go without really having to adjust too much or expect too much of a difference. See, how early do you introduce newts? We already answered that. How do you get started with clones? Be a little bit more specific. I mean, I got started with clones because I was um, built out a room because I wanted to cultivate, and I got to the stage of I needed plants to fill the room. Very difficult to find clones on a consistent basis, and that kind of just triggered the inspiration to say, well, shit, let me be the one to make these clones on a consistent basis. Let's see here. Can you use a feminized seed as a mom plant? I've asked this question myself, and all the responses that I've got from breeders and stuff and people that are making feminized seeds have all been yes, that you can. There really isn't any issues with that when doing asexual propagation after the fact. Like, you really shouldn't run into herms unless that genetic was just prone to herming. So, yes, I think you can make a feminized, make a mother plant from a feminized seed. See here, temp and humidity for clones for 14 days results. If you want those exact details, I got that for you. Step-by-step instructions, expert guidance, clonecoach.com. Use a discount code 15K for $50 off. All of those details are in my guide. Get your results in 14 days, guaranteed. See, we got Brazil here. Nice. How soon after seedling stage can I start a cut? It's a good question. It should be within probably the first 4 weeks. You'll have enough of secondary nodes developed so that when you do take your main clone right off the top, there are enough nodes beneath that to start structuring out and bushing out your plant. So I would say within about 4 weeks of a seedling, you could take your first clone. What is your preferred rooting hormone, and does it really matter? It matters less than you think, but it does matter, in my opinion. I mean, preferred, I would just, I'm a creature of habit, so once I kind of, stick to something, I just stick with it for a very long time. So I've been using Clonex forever. I did that Clonex with versus Cuts side by side. Cuts, I like the cling of it. The gel was more jelly and more clingy and a little bit thicker. The applicator was better. The color's cooler. Results were there, but in my small experiment that I did, they weren't side by side. But you get results with it, guaranteed, because the active ingredient is the same. And when you say does it really matter, what matters is the active ingredient. So turn the bottle around, compare the active ingredient, make sure you got enough in there, and you should be fine. We got the UK, we got New York. Let's see, what do you know about Callus Tech for clones that a lot of people talk about? Can you explain the process? I can't explain the process because I'm not a part of that Callus Tech movement. So I don't know much about it. Sorry. But I do know that callus is the first stage of rooting. There's callus, there's striking, and there's searching. So you form a callus, you strike roots from it, and then you encourage those roots to start searching for more moisture and build up a solid root zone. So it's the first stage when it comes to, rooting. Let's see here. How do you deal with clones that bend over, ending up with crooked clones? If my stem isn't perfectly straight and it's curved, the growth is curved or something like that, all I've done is penetrate the cube at an angle. So the finished material up top is finishing straight, and the bottom part is angled into the cube, so we have a sturdy, even canopy up top. See, and if you're just joining us, please let us know where you're joining in from. We got people from Trinidad, New York. We have St. Kitts, Colorado, California, New Mexico, Thailand, everywhere. So let us know where you're joining in from. See, do you prefer sterile or microbial inoculation? I prefer microbial inoculation. Would using your base nutrients be better to start your clones in or clone solution? It's a good question. I prefer using the base nutrients that your mother plants are being fed to use as your base nutrients to clone in. This just helps maintain the same growth pattern and the same, color, vigor, stature that you are already getting out of your mother stock. You continue that in your clones. So I don't really like to switch it over to a clone solution. Let's see here. Oh yeah, you guys. What are you guys thinking about this episode? Episode 2 of Clone Questions Live. Let me know your thoughts here in the comments. And share this, share this with your friends, to join in on the conversation. Let's see here. Do you measure PPFD for clones? If so, what's best? I have, and it usually lands around the mid 100s, 130 to 150 PPFD at the dome level. Inside the dome, you're going to lose another 20 to 40 ppfd, so that dome and that plastic reduces the light even more so. But we want enough light there so when we are transitioning into the vegetative stage, once we're done rooting and the domes are off and we want that to kick on into a vegetative state, that there's enough light there to make it veg. So don't be scared of a decent amount of light, but too much light, and particular some LEDs were like dimmable, they'll get funky on you just as they would in vegetative or in flowering as well. LEDs always got a little trick to them. So mid 100s for your answer there. Do moms ideally need lower nitrogen? I've read a little bit on this type of research, and they say there is something to it, but I would need to understand the levels of nitrogen we're playing with to begin with to even start knowing what's a reference, right? Like, I don't know, with taking nutrition tests on your plant material, what levels we're talking about and what are we referring to. If it was pH or EC, I would understand it more, but the level of nitrogen inside your plant material, I don't know quite yet. So it'd be good to have that like anecdotal, like mother plant, like, yeah, this is everything I want. Like, she's green and perfect. Measure that and see where it lands and start playing with that and understand it a bit more. Any microbes / root inoculants, etc., that are safe in res that won't clog drip lines? That's a good question. There are some. You want to get things that are, made for that use. They're probably going to run very low in the dilution. You're probably going to be a product that's feeding 1 to 2 mils per gallon. So it shouldn't be, much more than that. But things like, those root stimulators that come in the aluminum bottles. Every brand's got their version of it. All of those should work. Roots Accelerated Gold, Elite. We got Rhizoblast from Botanicare. All those aluminum bottles. Root inoculants should be something you can run through drip lines, as well as TerraGrow Liquid. They got a liquid option now that's made for drip lines and irrigation systems as well. We got San Diego. We got a globe. It looks like it's sitting on Africa, so it might be Africa. Calicine Opinions, Mass Med, and Rec. Could you reword that? I don't think I understood what you're trying to say. What's a good root inoculant that you would recommend? Appreciate the help. Root inoculant, TerraGrow, Recharge are 2 really complete root inoculants that I recommend all the time. Good vibes from France. Nice. We got France in the house. Let's see here. Can cloning be done with a flowering plant? We touched on this at the beginning. Yes, it can be. But the later into flower, the more you're going to have to deal with, that excess humidity molding out your flower, obviously. So the earlier, the better on that. We got Bay Area, Ontario, Canada, New York. If you're just joining, let us know where you're joining in from. We got people from all over the world on this Clone Coach team. If you're part of the Clone Coach team, put a little comment in there, man. Give me a little plant, give me a little love, Let us know that you're part of this community here that we're building up. Let's see, I got some notifications here. Some questions. What's your technique for deep water culture cloning? I've been having trouble. Check out. I just did a reel on a little mini guide for turbo cloners and aero cloners. It's not 100%, guys. You know, it's meant to just be a free little bundle and answer some basic questions. But check that out. Should get you, some answers there. Mother lifespan in production. It's about 10 weeks to get that to a full production mother plant, and then you want to go another, 20 weeks or so, getting full production out of it. So mother plant lifespan is probably going to be 30 to 36 weeks for a faster rotating mother plant. What's the best way to sex plants to flower them? That and or get them tested. That's what you could do too. There's testing options with like myfloradna.com. Excuse me. Check them out. Use discount code CloneCoach, and they have a sexing option too. So you could take a little sample of your seedling before it shows any pre-flowers, or if it's even old enough to get to that stage, and you'll know beforehand whether it's a male or a female. You could kill off the males and continue growing the females. So testing is a good option. Let's see here. How long would you say you should leave your cuts in water before dipping and plugging? As long as it takes to maintain that same rotation of dipping and plugging. So generally a few hours. What's your process for cloning cuts in a tray with the dome? It's easy. Go to clonecoach.com. Best clones ever. SOP will give you all the details you need. All of those aspects for the process of cloning with domes on a commercial scale. Scalable options there. But if you're just joining, let us know where you're joining in from. Going through these questions here. I don't know how far into the chat I am, so I've just been trying to keep up with it. So I'll get to the very bottom towards the end of the show here. Let's see. How do you prevent pathogens in your clones? That's a good question. So I do it chemically and with biodefenses. So chemically, I do it with sanitation, with the plastic at the very beginning, sanitizing that with bleach. The plant material going in and throughout the process is getting chemically treated with Zerotol 2.0, and the root zone is being protected with biofungicides that are active in the root zone, protecting against fungicides in your root zone. So I try to cover all aspects in that way. Do you callus your cuts? I don't do that callus tech. They callus in the first stage of rooting inside my plugs. Excuse me, and go from there. How long do you leave Clonix on it before plugging it in? Good question. Don't soak your clones in any rooting hormone gel for a prolonged period of time. Just dip it and stick it. Period. If you're gonna dip and stick, that's all. That's as fast as it needs to be. You dip it, give it a little twist so it gets good coverage on the stem, and you plug it right away. That's it. Don't let them soak in there. I've seen people do that, and it just aids in the bottoms getting all mushy. Healthy Moms, yes. Healthy Moms is where it's at. New Zealand, Ohio, Washington State, Chicagoland here, Mexico, Germany. Let's see here. If you're just joining, let us know where you're joining in from. We got Germany, Mexico. Where else? We got Chicago, Washington. How do you keep your mothers healthy forever? Put them outside once a year? No. To keep them healthy forever, you got to keep them free from pests and pathogens forever, and make sure that their root zone has an ability to be pruned as well, either air pruned or manually pruned and repotted, and the right parameters. And that mom will keep vegging as long as it has all those things covered. Let's see here. Take another puff of this thing, man. I've been talking half hour straight. Clone Questions Live, Episode 2. Let's see here. If you're just joining, let us know where you're joining in from. If you got a question, I'm scrolling through all of the chat, trying to answer all these questions here on Clone Questions Live with me, Paul, your clone coach. Let's see here. What do you recommend using as a plug, i.e. rock wool, root ride, or anything else? From Scotland. For commercial scale operation, I like using pre-filled trays, and it's usually cocoa peat-based media, compacted cocoa peat-based media, to hold its shape. But that pre-filled tray saves me a lot of labor in the prep when it comes to clone production. All the other options will work, but usually the ones where you have to break up a slab and individually put it into the 50 cell trays, it adds so much more labor that I just don't prefer to do. So a commercial scale, I like pre-filled trays, my friend. Let's see here. What would you feed Chinese if the mom are not till watered with compost teas? Do some spell check before they answer the questions, guys. I gotta be able to understand what you're saying. Let's see. Have you ever had clones fold over, the stems get mushy and falls over? Yes. That's called damping off. If it happens in the first 5 days of your rooting process, that's dampening off. That mushiness in the bottom of the stem, that rot, that loss of rigidity in the stem and just flopping over, especially when you just do you grab the tray, you give it a little shake. Just that little bit of shake, you'll see just stems start plopping over. So I actually did a video on that on my YouTube channel, so go check it out. Clone Coach on YouTube. There's a video called How to Prevent Dampening Off. When to take the dome off? Generically speaking, at the end, a day or two before your plants are ready to go. If you want really detailed particulars, go to clonecoach.com. Use discount code 15K for $50 off. Mammoth P. Mammoth P is a good one. How do you feel about using silica for cloning? I don't use silica. I don't need it. Don't need it for my mother plants. I don't need it for cloning. Thanks. Peace. Thank you. Thank you. Let's see here. Going through these questions. How do you feel about soaking cuttings before plugging? Also, would trying to root clone Sun 1212 be quicker? How do you feel about soaking cuttings before plugging? Yeah, they sit in the cups soaking for a few hours. So I do that before plugging them. That's just the rotation of kind of taking them off the mother plants, cleaning up the stems, and bundling them into cups so that the pluggers could just grab a cup and plug that into a tray. Also, would trying to root clones from 1212 be quicker? I don't know. I don't think so. I think that's a French flag. Gas boy gas. Correct me if I'm mistaken there. Clone Coach, thank you. If you're just joining, let us know where you're joining in from. If you've got a question, answer the question, man. See, I got a question over here. Let's see, I always lose cuttings. Any advice? I'm a new grower. Easy. Just devour all of the videos I've been making. There's so much tangible value in these videos I've been making on Clone Coach on Instagram here. If you're new, if your budget is not there yet to purchase the guides and get that expert guidance and stuff, or if you don't have enough at stake, I hear you, man. I've been there. But what I did when I didn't have any, money to invest into guidance, I studied, I researched, and I analyzed every bit of content that was available to me. So, hence the Clone Coach Instagram page. There's a lot of tangible value there. So, if you got any questions, you're just new, you're just starting, just soak it all up, man. Soak it all up. There's a lot of good stuff on there. And actually, now would be a good time to mention that there's a section on my page now called Guides. So if it's posts, it's reels, it's guides, and pictures you're tagged in or something. Check out the guides. Now those are like that I'm starting to put together. Those are like mini guides that just kind of like have 3, 4, 5 posts built into them for a certain subject. So now I'm gonna start like categorizing all these videos. So if you got a question about humidity, these are all the videos on humidity. If you got questions on root inoculants, these are all the videos on root inoculants. So check out the guides section of Clone Coach as well. Let's see here, another question. How often do you clean your humidifier? So deep clean at least once a week, and the maintenance in between is adding 1 ml per gallon of xylitol or bleach or something like that that will kill the algae and slime and bacteria buildup during that week. So that'll help keep your humidifier clean. Let's see, best product for gnats. That's a good question. Best product for gnats. Nematodes, really excellent product for in soil and kind of getting that aspect of it. Once they start flying around, sticky traps and insecticidal soap will give you that knockdown and that capture to really like get rid of the adults that are flying around. And then just keeping things drier at the top level of your soil. So like maybe bottom feeding or allowing more light penetration to come through to kind of dry up that top layer of soil. So if it's drier at the top couple inches of soil, you'll be able to deal with your gnat infestation a lot better. Have you ever measured the bricks in your flower? No, but I did get a bricks meter. They gotta start putting to use and start diving into capturing the bricks levels at different stages. Let's see here. We're about halfway through this episode of Clone Questions Live. Thank you to everybody that's joined and thrown in some questions. If you're just joining, let us know where you're joining in from. We got people from all over the world here. Thailand, New Zealand, Puerto Rico, all over the United States. We got Canada, Germany. Where else was on there? Let's see here. Should I recut clones that didn't take? Good question. I actually just had a client reach out, and it was day 14, and their clones weren't rooted yet, right? We figured out why they weren't rooted yet, but their question was the same thing. Can I keep going? Is there any hope on these clones still? So if it basically broke down to if the clones were still rigid, right? The clones are still rigid. They're not falling over, and they're still green, and they didn't like purple out or yellow out or die off, curl up or anything like that. So they're like up top. You're like, wow, these clones still look viable, but there's just no roots there, right? They didn't take. You could remedy that, with extra heat and warmth and light, and that should encourage those roots to strike if you still have a perky green clone. So if you have a still rigid clone that's still perky green, you still got some hope. Increase the heat on your root zone, increase the temperature, decrease your humidity, and that should encourage those roots to start striking and searching, because the top is telling you that this plant isn't dead yet. See here, does you clone from a callus where it roots out of Bay Area? Does you clone from a callus where it roots? Well, the callus is the first stage of rooting. Then it strikes roots from that callus, and then it will begin to search for more moisture, building up your root zone from that callus as the first stage there. Wouldn't you still have to undo the pre-filled trays to soak the plugs in your preferred solution? No, actually. The pre-filled trays, it's the 50 cell inner tray with the pre-filled media. So you could stack that in a tub and fill that tub up with your solution, and they're ready to go like that. So you're definitely not taking them out and putting them back in. That would defeat the reasoning I had of saving on labor. Let's see here. Massachusetts. We got New Mexico. We got, I think that's Connecticut. I use aloe vera plants to root my roots clones works awesome. Yep, aloe vera, good option. It's got natural hormones in them, and that's what's going to help trigger that rooting process. When should I start opening the vents on the domes? If you want the exact protocol, guys, exact 14-day protocol on the domes, the temperature, the nutrients, the processes to get you the best clones ever in 14 days, go to clonecoach.com, grab the best clones ever SOP, use the discount code 15K to get $50 off. But to answer your question as well, I never close my vents from day one. So that's my 2 cents on it. Got a bunch of Shaka bras. Yeah, Shaka to you. Nematodes, yep. What's your background? How far back do you want to go? Elaborate on that. Just cannabis background, normal professional background. You want the whole resume? What are you guys interested in? We got Michigan. We got the Bay Area. More Bay Area. A lot of Bay Area. Barbados. Nice. Let's see here. What are Brix levels? And another member here answered that for you. Sugar levels in flower. Sugar levels in the plants. Yeah. So look at that, guys. I love seeing that where you guys just help answer each other's questions too. Like that's awesome, dude. Like that's the community that I'm seeing is being created right here. Like just helping each other out. That's what it's all about, you guys. So good stuff. We got Maine. We got someone that's high AF in St. Albans, Vermont. There's a callus technique that's been going around. Can you explain this process? No, because the guy that's talking about the callus technique is not me, so I can't explain it for you, and don't have access to his page, so I couldn't elaborate on it either. Let's see here. OKC tapping in. I don't care about your background because your methods are on point, doggy. Look, that's the goal here, man. The goal is the plants and the clones and the results speak for themselves. Whether you agree with some things that I say, I'm not perfect. You know, I'm only human, but I know for sure I let my plants do the speaking for me. So, you know, thank you for acknowledging that. You know, it doesn't really matter what's my background. My background is clones, for sure. Professionally, in the cannabis space, all I've done is nursery and clones. That's it. I'm not competing with flower. Don't ask me how to grow the best flower. I'm not that guy. But do you want to make the best clones ever? I'm that guy. I'm that guy. We got another question here. Let's see. You say you like prepackaged trays. Wouldn't you still have to empty that tray to soak your plugs in a preferred solution? Thanks. Oh, didn't refill the tray again. We answered that already. We do not. We do not need to empty the tray out. We got Australia. Nice. Boston, Massachusetts. You have a deep knowledge. Wondering if you gained some expertise from another world/industry. That's a good question. Yeah. I mean, I think we all do and or should, right? I mean, these are just what makes us individuals. All of the things we've been exposed to, all the other lessons we've learned, everything we build up with us, we've got to transfer some of it over to, you know, whatever new industry or whatever we're getting into. I mean, my early career, I was in hospitality, you know, restaurants, hotels, valet, you know, front desk person. So I was always interacting with people. And then in my early 20s, I was traveling and doing more like stuff on cruise ships and working with servicing the equipment on cruise ships and working with higher level decision makers, so that professionalism and that reporting and stuff, and U.S. Coast Guard inspectors and things like that. So I was exposed to that higher level, you know, kind of tier of people. And then I left that and started, you know, the corporate cannabis thing and working for myself, you know, having that, you know, business mindset, go-getter mindset to just do things on my own. That's what kind of kicked off the nursery thing. And then 2018 hit and I joined the legal space because, you know, that's what was happening. But in that first year that I joined the legal market as an employee, I was able to convince the owners and convert a spare veg room into a nursery. Got the license for them and marketed and sold licensed clones in the California market. In December of 2018. So less than a year of just hopping into being an employee there. So yeah, I mean, I definitely transfer all of my other exposure, and tidbits into what I got going on now. See here. What do you think about starting the clones with bloom? I think you don't need to. I think there's, they got some reasoning for it to help encourage the rooting process or encourage the root growth. But I don't need that to get root growth. I mean, I keep it the same to, maintain the same green growth that I'm getting from my mother plants. And my roots still come. I'm not worried about getting roots, Trimming sucks balls. Yeah, but I mean, I've trimmed before, and it's tiring. It's exhausting, especially days and days and days on end. So hats off to any trimmers that are trimming on a regular basis. It is not easy. Let's see here. But yeah, guys, for everybody that's still here and you haven't said it, let us know where you're from. We got people from all over the world that joined us for this episode of Clone Questions Live, episode 2, which is awesome. I thank you guys, and I hope you guys are gaining a lot of tangible value, from this. I found cloning with bloom faster than veg. Look, there's always interesting findings out there, and I'm not saying, when people ask me what's my preferred, opinion, I'm just giving my opinion. Doesn't mean the other option's wrong or right, but I definitely know my opinion and the way I do things have worked for people all over the world. So when it's repeatable like that, with the same set of documents and the same set of knowledge base, and it works, and people are getting the same results all over the place, then I know, that's my assurance there. But look, I'm caught up with the questions, I think. Wait, hold on, never mind. What do you think about scuffing the end of the stem before you dip them? I think you don't need to. Once again, you can. Excuse me. You can, but when you're doing a lot of clone production, scraping them off, scraping the stems, if you have a lot of staff plugging them and scraping, you're going to get inconsistencies in your scraping. And it adds to your time and your production as well. So it's going to increase your time, and you're not going to gain anything from it, really. That you're going to say, wow, if I didn't scrape it, now I didn't get any roots. That's not going to be the case. So I personally don't. I get a clean cut on clean material and dip it, stick it, and let it rip. Mystic Valley Genetics, been following you for a while. Nitrogen inhibits rooting. Yeah, that's their basis on it, right? Why they would want to use bloom instead of veg. But once again, I mean, I don't get any issue with roots being inhibited from growth when using the same vegetative newts. That might be the case that I'm not feeding too much nitrogen in my vegetative newts because I'm not experiencing any nitrogen toxicity or anything like that. So I think understanding the levels of nitrogen that actually inhibit roots, just like there's a nitrogen toxicity level in your vegetative state, there's got to I just want to know the levels a bit more and understand how that's gauged, get a better sense of things. Another question here. Can I hit my clones every day with a Xylitol spray? Yes, you can. Absolutely. And if you're just joining, guys, let us know where you're joining in from. We got people from all over the world, man. All over the world. Germany, New Zealand, Costa Rica, I think, all over the United States, Florida, Canada. God, I couldn't even remember all of them. Thailand. Vibe Tribe. I like the interaction. Vibe Tribe is like your fourth or fifth question, man. Thank you, for the interaction there. Having trouble with root aphids. What would you do? Run away. Just kidding. Um, Prepare for war. Prepare for war. That's what you're gonna do, man. Because you really can't let up. So you hit them. For me, hit them with a knockdown like Pyganic. Soak everything, hit everything, spray everything. Anything that comes in contact with the Pyganic is gonna die, and that's gonna get you that initial knockdown to weaken things, and then you're gonna start maintaining all of your insecticides on a solid rotational basis with your root drenches and your foliar sprays and your procedures with keeping things clean and that bringing in different genetics and stuff like that. So things like azadirachtin, things like Bavaria bassiana, things like insecticidal soaps, things like anything that you have available to you that's safe to use insecticidal way, get it in there and get it fighting. And I would talk to a predatory bug rep and see if there's any predatory bugs that are good for root aphids at different stages of growth. So let's see here. Brazil, we got Brazil in the house. East LA, nice guys. Washington State, got a few people from Washington. I was having terrible rooting results. As soon as I put clones in a lower temp room around 65 degrees, I had almost full success again. Wondering why going to lower temps helped. Have any input? 65 degrees to root in 65 degrees, I don't see how that would be not possible, but possible in a timely fashion, because with enough time it'll happen, but that's really cold. That's really cold. I don't want any stage of my plants, in 65 degrees. So I'm not really sure why, or what happened. But I know if you're you need to encourage rooting, that warmth of 78, 80 degrees is really going to aid in that process. And it's going to aid in the drying back of your cloning media, which is going to aid in the ability for the roots to not be bogged down with excess moisture and encourage a timely rooting process. So I don't know why that happened for you, man. Would you run Pyrethian? So that Pyganic is an organic version of a Pyrethian, like botanical, I think. And the thing about it has no residual, and it's basically kill on contact, and it has the shortest half-life possible. So there is nothing that lingers at all. That's why it has to touch and has to kill when it's wet, because after that it doesn't do you any good at all. So that's the only kind of Pyrethian-based product that I would consider. And I don't really consider it for a knockdown as well. Ever had success with neem meal tea drenched to knock down gnats? Never used that. Sorry. Neem meal tea drenched. No. Vibe Tribe from Adelanto. Nice. A lot of activity over there, man. I didn't like doing that drive up and down that canyon there to go, do some site tours, and I was gonna run a nursery up there and stuff. It's just that commute. Just I couldn't deal with it. But we're getting close to the end here, guys. We got about 10 minutes left. Solid hour of Clone Questions Live, episode 2. Been getting to everybody's questions here, and I thank everybody for joining, sharing this as well, gaining some value. Let's see what questions we still have here. How many times a day do you burp your domes, and how often? Once a day, daily. If you want the exact dome protocols, go to clonecoach.com. Get the best clones ever guide. We got Pueblo, Colorado. Let's see here. How do you feel about woody stems when taking cuts? I got your best clones ever SOP, about to put it into work this week. It says only green stems, but my GMO and rainbow runts are purple throughout. First of all, welcome to the team. Secondly, GMO and rainbow runts are purple throughout. they shouldn't just have to be. If you're purple going in, you're gonna get purple going out. If you feed the exact same thing you're feeding your mother plants, so it's not gonna magically turn green if it wasn't green already. So getting it green is the first step. That is playing with your lighting settings on your LED lights, so probably dimming them, balancing out that extra, EC and an extra nutrient uptake and an extra calcium base, especially if you're running reverse osmosis water, to really try to get some green growth out of that. Lastly, on the woody stems, it's usually only a woody stem if it's an older growth, right? Or something that's kind of, been there for a while. But that's why I like to leave 2 weeks of uninterrupted growth on my mother plants. So top them, flatten them out, bring them down to, the small, to the nodes, right? Bunch of nodes. And then you let that grow uninterrupted for 2 weeks. And that's not going to be woody at all. That's going to be fresh green growth, and that's what you're going to clone off of. So you shouldn't really have to deal with woody stems. Get your GMO and rainbow runts to be greener by getting them fixed up in veg. They don't need to be solid purple. That's the best you're going to get. And welcome to the team, man. Let's see you put these SOPs to work, and keep you posted on the results. And don't forget to book your coaching call. That's included as well. See here, if you're just joining, let us know where you're joining in from. This episode of episode 2 of Clone Questions Live. Getting to the end of these questions here, and end of the joint here. But this is every Friday, guys. Every Friday, Clone Questions Live, 5:30 Pacific. Tell your friends, tell your buddies, tell everybody. We got seedling mats or no? It's a good question. I don't need them if my room is at that right 80-degree environment. I don't need them. Will they hurt you? No, unless you have them like terribly hot. But are they good for you? Yeah, because a little bit extra warmth will encourage a faster dry back and encourage the rooting process to happen. I would say almost critical to have them if you're in a very cold climate. I have clients right now that are in Montana, North Dakota, and they're dealing with. I can't even imagine what kind of winter it is right now, right? So they absolutely need the heat mats too. So if you need them, grab them. Vibe Tribe, how can I get you at our facility? Very easy, Vibe Tribe. Go to clonecoach.com. There's an on-site coaching option. I got this month booked out. I got 2 people that I'm going to be visiting on site, but that is the option to get me on site to your facility. So book that, and we'll work out the logistics one-on-one to get your visits in place. But it's 2 visits in a monthly process, along with weekly coaching calls and unlimited access to emails and things like that. So check out on-site coaching at clonecoach.com. And I would probably hurry up, because after these 2 are booked, the price is going to go up. The price is getting adjusted, so you can lock in your price now if you hop on that. What do you max out your PPFD on mothers? Good question. With CMH lights, ceramic metal halides, I was hovering about 450 to 550, if I'm not mistaken, up to like 600, if the plants got really close to the light. With LEDs, it's a lot less. I mean, I was working with like 350, to 400, like 300 to 400 ppfd with LED lights on my mother plants. So LED lights are a tricky thing, man. So it's usually less is more when it comes to that. But I still prefer this. I still always had that solid green growth off of CMH lights without having to do all the extra inputs and the extra EC and stuff like that, like you do with LEDs. So, that's just what I had, what I dealt with, and what I saw. But yeah, guys, this has been fun. Everybody that's joined, if you're just joining in, let us know where you're joining in from. We're about to wrap up this episode 2 of Clone Questions Live. Got into everybody's questions, if I'm not mistaken. Clone Coach, you're the best, bro. The best. You're the best, man. Thank you for the support. I appreciate you. Clone Coach, love your content. Way to go helping people. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And then, bringing that tangible value is what it's all about, guys. So, tell your friends. If you really enjoy it, tell your friends. Let's get these, exposure a bit more up there. Help a lot more people out, and let the results speak for themselves. See, just got a grow license here in Oklahoma City. Do you have any advice on how to start selling clones? Like, how many strains did you start with? Do you sell to dispensaries or grows? Appreciate you. It's a very good question. I'm surprised we haven't gotten more questions like this because I've been selling all the clones I've been making since I started making clones as well. So I understand the aspect of running a commercial nursery for the purpose of selling to other grows or dispensaries or to patients and stuff. So it's a super good question, man. I'm going to call that the last question of this episode. I'm going to dive into it right now. Heat mats, we already touched on heat mats. Yes, you could use them. Michigan, we got something we're smoking on. Thanks for the advice. Thanks for sharing. I appreciate y'all. We're going to finish it up with this question here. Let's go back to it. It's going to be the last question of Clone Questions Live. And, was it Dylan Gannon? Let's see here. His question. Just got a grow license here in Oklahoma City. Do you have any advice on how to start selling clones? Like how many strains did you start with? Did you sell to dispensaries or grows? Appreciate what you do. So yeah, I do got some advice. I don't know how the market is there now exactly, but with your license, a commercial license, I would absolutely sell to grows because that's going to be the bulk of like your production. There's probably going to be less strain options there if it's just like bulk clones for a strain that's really in demand. That'll be a good portion of your production there. So call that 6 to 8 strains of like a bulk option that you produce a lot of. They're just hardy, tried and true, high demand in the market, and you're going to sell a lot of those to just other grows. Dispensaries, you're selling to home growers on dispensaries. So I would sell teens or bigger on your dispensary level because selling clones are good, but you're going to have a good portion of people that don't tend to that clone properly and then have a bad experience. And then, they aren't off to the best start. So if you give them a teen that's transplanted, it's going to buy them more time, give them a bigger cushion. They'll be successful with it. And you'll get them hooked to keep going and keep growing your plants. And you could have a bigger, wide strain of options for the home growers there. To really capture those grows on the bulk commercial level for strains that want to stay ahead of the curve, then you got to do the work and staying ahead of the curve when it comes to genetics as well. And that could either mean producing, doing your own pheno hunting, your own research and development to find the winners because you put them through flower, they're stable, you've put in all the resources to find a new genetic that isn't being ran, and then you could start putting that into the commercial spots at smaller amounts. They will give you the same response that you saw when you grow it, and then it's that cut becomes in high demand and you got it, and you rotate that into your business plan. But yeah, man, I mean, I would say a menu in total of like a dozen to 20 strains or more, and it's going to be a rotating menu. So things that stay around seasonally, things that are brand new, things that are up and coming, things that have been here forever and are going to stay here for another season or two. So you're going to have 4 different sections of your menu, and you're going to have a rotating option like that, and each are going to require different levels of resources and research and development and stuff on what to carry. But and lastly, there's actually in Oklahoma, if you have the ability to have a retail storefront, I would love to do that. Like, you should have your own retail storefront when you grow the clones in the back and you sell them for a retail price in the front. And if you can sell them at any quantity, even better. But even if it's just retail, a dozen or half a dozen at a time, then you could sell them the biggest plants. You could sell them, ready to flower plants. You could sell them big old teens, 2-gallon pots, mini moms. You can sell them, you know, bigger plants that are just ready to go for these home growers, and you can sell them at the retail end of it, right at the front of your store. So, congrats to getting that license, man. You know, if it was me, I'd be having a whole bunch of fun with it. But yeah, man, I think that should help you, you know, get started there. And if you want to learn more, you know, consider checking out clonecoach.com. I think like that on-site coaching would be your best option there, because that's going to dive into the business plan of running a nursery. So that was a good question, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let's see here. Nice. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I appreciate y'all. That was fun. Clone Questions Live, Episode 2. If you guys want to make the best clones ever, you want that expert guidance, step-by-step instructions, go to clonecoach.com. Right now, you can use discount code 15K for $50 off your entire order on clonecoach.com. So thank you guys for joining. I really appreciate you guys. And once again, this is every week. So next week, hop on, tell your friends, let's get your clone questions answered with me, Paul, your clone coach. Thanks, guys. Have a good night. All right.